Right, welcome back everyone. We have a question that I'm going to cover off this week for Technique Tuesday. Someone sent through a question and they asked what's the difference between a back squat and a front squat. Now, let me just preface all of this by, I'm going to go through what the difference for a back squat and a front squat is from the way we coach it. I believe that when you are coaching a squat, you actually have to look at what the application is for the person that you are coaching it to. Not only that, the range of motion is going to be different for the individual person. So there are a lot of little things that go into coaching a squat. Don't let anybody tell you that a squat is just the same. Now, we can actually do a back squat different ways to recruit different muscle groups and to give us a different result. So let's go through what a back squat and a front squat is first. So first things first, back squat is basically when the bar is loaded on our back. Now, generally the way we will coach it is we'll get people to take the bar out of the rack, set our feet outside our hip width, toes pointed forwards. We're going to drive those hips back. Think about pulling those feet apart, pulling the ground apart with our feet, and then driving up. So nice and controlled on the way down, getting into that bottom position, and then using that stretch reflex with our hamstrings to really fire out. So that's a back squat. Then, when we do a front squat, the bar's going to be loaded on the front of our shoulders in a good front rack position. We'll notice we use more of like a conventional Olympic weightlifting grip. Some people do front squat like this, but for us, we try and replicate the front of that clean position. And then from there, I'm going to have, again, feet in a very similar position. But for this, we may let our toes angle out slightly, nice upright torso, going down and then driving up. Okay, so that's the difference, but that's the two movements. Now, the difference between the two for the way that we coach it, to put it really simply, a back squat is more posterior dominant. So because we're keeping those toes pointed forwards and we're sitting back into it, we're trying to get more recruitment from our glutes and our hamstrings. And as I said when I was going through that demo, when we hit that bottom position, we're trying to use that stretch reflex in our hamstrings to really rocket out of that bottom position. Whereas with a front squat, the bar's anteriorly loaded, which means it's on the front of our shoulders, meaning I have a more upright torso. So from the point of view of my lower body, it's going to load those quads more as I go down and as I come up. Now that doesn't mean that my glutes and my hamstrings aren't working while I do the movement. It just means that I'm getting more loading on that front part of my body. Now, some other differences, some other benefits from one to the other. The front squat, you will find that you will get a little bit more midline work, so core as most people call it, where you're using like your lower abdominals a lot more because of where the bar is loaded to try and keep that torso upright as we go down and as we go up in the movement. So for us, that's the major difference between the two. Now, again, just to reiterate what I said at the start, one thing that I know after over a decade of coaching people how to squat and getting them stronger is that you can teach a squat a very, very different way. And with the back squat, you might do it more Olympic weightlifting style with the toes angled out and a more upright torso. And while you do that, you are going to maybe not get as much posterior recruitment, pretty similar to a front squat, but there are still differences between loading the bar on the back and loading the bar on the front. So just be aware that just because you do a back squat different to what we do, there may be slight differences in what you get from one to the other. And make sure you always use a coach who knows what they're doing to prescribe you how you should be squatting for your body type, for your lever length, and for your injury history. All right, hopefully that helps. Hopefully that answers the question on what are the major differences between a back squat and a front squat. Have a good one. Send us through any questions and we'll get to them. Goodbye.